Hello and welcome to another episode of Up Your Assets. This is Ray Ferrara, the founder and the executive chair of Provise Management Group with offices in Clearwater and Tampa, Florida. And I want to welcome all of you to this exciting interview. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. Do want to remind everybody, we do not accept any money from any of our guests on the show. We don't endorse any products on the show. It's all on the up and up, so what you hear is what you get, and there's no biases that are involved. And this morning, and we are recording this on a nice chilly morning here in Florida. I have my dear friend Kevin Keller, who is the CEO of the CFP Board of Standards, and I had the distinct pleasure of serving on that board for 6 years and was the 2014 chair of the board, and continue to remain involved in a number of different ways. And so Kevin and I go way back, 2008, as a matter of fact. I remember well our first telephone call with each other as he was trying to get me to serve on the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission back then. And so, Kevin, welcome to Up Your Assets.
Ray, we've had a long run, and it's great to be with you. And of course, the name of the podcast, tongue in cheek, not surprising for you, Ray. Always a good sense of humor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, Kevin, give us a little overview of CFP Board and its mission and what it's been trying to accomplish during its 50 plus years of history.
Ray, you're kind to ask. Obviously, you know much of this, and you have history of the financial planning profession going way back. But 51 years.
We don't have to tell everybody that I've been at it almost as long as the CFP's been around.
Yeah, the financial planning profession started officially, or certainly as the legend goes, back in 1969, but it was in 1973 that the first class of CFP professionals was minted. And since that time, there are now 103,000 CFP professionals in the United States. CFP Board is the organization that sets and enforces both competency standards as well as the ethical standards for CFP certification. Look, Ray, you know this better than anybody. Certainly to be an advisor, you have to have your licenses, but a number of advisors go beyond that and want to serve their clients more holistically. And the CFP certification is a holistic. It's covers topics that address your whole financial life. It's not just investments, but it's retirement, insurance, estate planning, taxes. And so increasingly, as people's financial lives become more complex, they want and demand a broader offering of advice from their financial advisor.
You know, Kevin, it's really great that you brought that up, because so often when people hear financial planner, they put an equal sign and says investment management. And for us, investment management is a subset of a financial plan, a written financial plan, as is estate planning, retirement planning, education planning, tax planning. All of those are subsets of the overall financial plan, which is a holistic approach.
You know, Ray, back in 2008, when we first met, as I remember it, and of course, maybe I have a little bit of revisionist history, but as I remember it, financial planners were essentially this passionate group of people kind of off to the side who felt very strongly that this holistic offering of advice was important to their clients. Of course it is. But the bulk of the financial services industry was all about investment advice, gathering assets. In the 17 years since you and I first met, though, there's been a drastic shift, and it's as though the entire financial services industry now has adopted the more holistic view of a person's financial life. And so we would talk about it. We would say the larger firms, many of them have institutionalized CFP certification into their new advisor training, and indeed even encouraging their existing advisors to become CFP certified.
Yep. Yeah, it leads nicely into my next question. There's an alphabet soup of credentials that are out there. What sets the CFP mark aside? What distinguishes them as the gold standard?
Yeah, Ray. So first of all, if you go to the FINRA website, the last time I looked, there were 254 designations and certifications. They all have 3 letters. Some of them have 4. 103 of them start with the letter C. And so it's just, as you said, an alphabet soup. And every one of those credentials and certifications, I bet, has a code of ethics or some statement of professional responsibility that sounds aspirational. You know, our designation holders strive to, always do the right thing, or something along that line. But here's one of the things that sets CFP apart, and you know about it because you've served as the chair of the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission. But CFP Board's ethical standards stand apart of all of those other 250 plus designations in that there's active monitoring and enforcement of those standards, and there are consequences to the very small percentage, but there are some, for those who don't uphold those high standards. There is a public, if you will, a naming and shaming of those folks when after due process and an opportunity to appear before a body of their peers, if they are found to have not lived up to the high standards of CFP certification, then there's essentially there's public discipline, if you will. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that sets CFP apart from all the other designations.
And you do have the 4 E's, not just the ethics, the education, the exam, and the enforcement that you were just chatting about. Does definitely set us apart. And not to mention those wonderful continuing education credits that we get, that you're in the process right now of trying to get us to do even more.
Probably so, Ray. A lot of times when we talk about our standards, people think of the ethical standards. It's the obvious things, what people think about. But the education standards or the competency standards are an important part of our certification too. So there's an education requirement. Currently, you're required to have a college degree. It can be in any subject, but at least have completed a 4-year baccalaureate college degree. You have to complete essentially 6 or 7 college level to up to master's level courses in order to qualify to sit for the exam. We have exam standards and then the experience standards as well. And then we have, as you referred to, those continuing competency standards. CFP professionals are obligated to have 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years. 2 of those hours are specifically designated for our ethical standards and the updates around those.
So, Kevin, since the public will be watching the Up Your Assets podcast, and some of them perhaps are actually going to be looking to find a financial planner, what are the 3 or 4 key things that they ought to be looking at besides someone with a CFP mark? And then how can they find a CFP professional in their geographic area?
Sure. Well, look, I think sometimes people spend more time looking at new cars than they spend looking for a financial planner and doing more research. But look, this is a really important decision. So a lot of people start with referrals, and that can be a good place. Typically, people associate with people like them, and so they may know or have relationships with financial planners. So that's always a good place to start. But there are a couple of things. Obviously, I believe that the individual should have a CFP certification. We're finding more and more, though, a lot of CFP professionals are now offering tax advice. So frequently, there'll either be a CPA or an enrolled agent, or a number of those providing tax services. But look, go to the CFP website if the advisor, your prospective advisor, is CFP certified. See if they have a disciplinary history. There's also the SEC maintains the database of people who have complaints and public discipline. I'm going to get these letters wrong. Help me. IAPAD, Ray, what is it? The database of financial advisors. We'll put the website address up for folks to take a look there. But again, does the person have a disciplinary history? Do they, how long have they been in business? What experience do they have? Are you going to be, dare I say it, the richest client for this individual, or do they have other people who are similarly situated as you are? And will they commit to a fiduciary duty? Something that I know we'll talk about more here as we get into the podcast.
And Kevin, with 103,000 CFP professionals, congratulations. A significant increase in your tenure there at CFP Board, and definitely a legacy of which you'll be proud as you decide to enjoy your own retirement at some point in, I hope, the distant future, but not too distant. There are people of all experiences and backgrounds. And I know you've gone out of your way to try to promote the CFP mark with a public awareness campaign over the last 10 or 12 years. You've also got a really interesting public awareness promo right now that's going on. Tell us a little bit about that, and I know you're really happy with this last one.
Ray, if we step back, we at CFP Board have an internal goal, and that is that CFP certification is the must-have designation for both providers and consumers of financial advice. So let's start with that. So there's a demand and a supply side. On the demand side, once I first got here, and soon after you and I met, I was on the road as you and I were out when you were chair of the board, and we were talking to CFP professionals across the country. And one of the recurring themes that I heard was that CFP professionals were saying, and it came up organically time after time, I'm really proud of having CFP certification. I just wish more of my prospective clients and even my clients knew what it was. So Ray, I grew up on a farm and I come from agribusiness. And, in agriculture, the commodity groups have taken it on their own to support and promote their products. We know that about the Got Milk campaign. Pork is the other white meat. The egg is incredible edible egg. Got the beef. It's what's for dinner. All of these campaigns are producer funded. In other words, the farmers have come together through their bodies and have pitched money in. And was the real idea behind the public awareness campaign. It's been going now since 2011. So we're in our 14th year. And we have measurably increased the awareness of CFP certification over that time. Then the other piece that you were referring to, look, we have a workforce problem like many professions and many trades in the United States. And so we have launched a campaign to promote financial planning as an attractive career choice, both for college-bound high school students and college students, as well as career changers. So look, those are a couple different campaigns. One is targeted more at the demand. That's the public awareness campaign. The other campaign targeted more on the supply side, encouraging people to become CFP certified.
That's great. Well, let's take just 30 seconds and let's look at the most recent promo that's out there.
Hey there, Brenda.
It's Carol.
Exactly. So which leg are we operating on?
You mean arm?
It's all connected.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future,
Are you sure you're an orthopedist?
Actually, I'm a Sagittarius.
especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question? Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Wow, Kevin, that's really powerful. I see that smile on your face. It makes me feel good. We certainly have come a long way. But CFP Board isn't just about creating CFP professionals. Your mission is to benefit the public, and part of that is advocacy to work towards a better place for the financial planning and financial industry in general. What kind of legislative priorities are you working on right now? You got a brand new administration just coming to Washington in a few days. Notice I didn't say Washington like I used to. I now say Washington like it's supposed to be done. So that's kind of an inside joke, folks. Anybody from Washington, D.C. calls it Washington. There's always an R that's in there. Anyway, what are the priorities that you're working on?
Look, there are a couple of things. One is restoring and expanding the tax deductibility of financial advice. We'd like to expand that to planning, and it looks like there's going to be tax legislation moving through, so that'll be important. There's a through line, though, and you referred to it, and I mentioned it earlier, Ray, and that is the fiduciary duty. And look, it goes back to our very founding. CFP Board was founded as a 501c3, and we were obligated and are obligated by both our mission, but more importantly, the Internal Revenue Code, to work in the public's interest. And the leaders, the volunteer leaders, the members of the financial planning community that have stepped up long before I came here and during your time and through to this day are committed to continue to advocate for an expansion of the fiduciary duty. We just think, Ray, I've heard you say it so many times, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And we think that it's important that there be a requirement for advisors to put the client's best interest first and to do that on an ongoing basis. We've been deeply involved, especially in the expansion or as it relates to retirement security. 2011, there was an effort. 2015, 2023. We've been successful at least a couple of times, and each time it seems as though the courts have struck down the rulings that have expanded the fiduciary responsibility. Ray, you've been a part of these. It must be, it's kind of baked into your very being as well, this belief. You led the Commission on Ethics that expanded our own financial fiduciary duty. I'm sure it's something you feel strongly about as well.
Absolutely, and it was a privilege to serve as the chair of the Commission on Standards and Ethics. And I remember well when we made that decision that day to expand to the fullest extent that we could the fiduciary standard. And it was certainly a privilege while I was with the CFP Board to have spoken before the Department of Labor on the changes regarding ERISA and the extension of the fiduciary duty and working with people who have retirement funds that are being converted to an IRA et cetera. Well, Kevin, as good as CFP professionals are, with 103,000 of them, and by the way, just fantastic growth. It was just this past summer that you celebrated the 100th thousandth, and now at 103 here in early 2025. Tell us, we have the issue of we don't have enough women in the profession. We don't have enough people of color in the profession, and as part of that benefiting the public, you've had a lot of work being done to try to attract people to the business. If we have any job changers or young adults in college that are thinking about the profession, why should they be thinking about it?
Well, Ray, I think your example number one of this, it is a great profession. And that's why we started the campaign, because there is a shortage. We have more CFP professionals over 65 than we do under the age of 30. And our research shows that Gen Z are that generation, the current youngest generation coming into the workforce, are looking for rewarding work and meaningful work. And, Ray, I've heard you tell stories of the clients you've helped. It's an opportunity to do well by doing good for others. And it's an opportunity that affords some work-life balance. In the beginning, it's not easy, right? It takes a while to get going, but the CFP professionals I know, many of them work well into their later years, right?
Welcome to my world.
Many of them work, our retention rate for people in their 70s is 88%. Think of that. People keeping their CFP certification, keeping active, they may not go into the office 5 days a week, but it's such a rewarding career. And then the retention rate of people in their 80s is 82%. 82% of the people are renewing their CFP certification well into their 80s. So that's such a great opportunity. And we're promoting that to college-bound high school students, college students, and we have a campaign for career changers as well.
Well, I talk about career changers. The little parlor game. What's that little secret that nobody knows about you? And I love to tell everybody that my degree from the University of Maryland is zoology, which I initially put to work selling computers for IBM in the early 70s, and 18 months later in the financial business. So if a zoology major can transition into a financial planner, anybody can do that as they go forward.
Ray, and look, this demand continues, even though there's a high retention rate. People's lives, their financial lives especially, are becoming increasingly more complex. Employers are asking their employees to make more and more decisions that are going to impact their financial well-being at retirement and beyond, whether it's retirement plans and what decisions for asset allocations, the health insurance, all of the kinds of things that a CFP professional can help. One of the things that we're proud about for 2024, we had a record number of new CFPs. We had a record number of new people, sitting for the exam, a record number of new women certified financial planner professionals, a record number of new racially and ethnically diverse CFP professionals. So look, the demand is there. People are, I think, increasingly recognizing that it's an important and valuable career option, and we're here to support people through the process. For people who want more information, just Google "get CFP certified" and you'll see the steps a person needs to take in order to become certified.
Kevin, you talk about career changing farm boy from Ohio, agricultural degree from the Ohio State University. Right.
Two agriculture degrees.
How did you end up moving from that farm boy to the two agricultural degrees into the running an organization the size of CFP Board?
You know, when I graduated with my undergraduate in agricultural economics, I went to work for the Ohio Grain and Feed Association, and I really fell in love with the work of a trade or professional organization through that first experience. I started my master's degree while I was there, graduated, and had worked a summer in Washington, knew I wanted to come back, and was able to start with a trade association here in DC. But I've been in the world a long time in the association business, and I've been fortunate to have great mentors, great leaders, great opportunities. And look, I tell people, Ray, that I have the best job on K Street. Now, I know some people don't think that that's a high bar to clear. Sometimes those of you who are familiar with Washington know K Street as the lobbyist. We're not the lobbyists, but we do some advocacy work. But the work we do on behalf of the American public, assuring the competency and setting the ethical standards, is very rewarding work for me and the other 120 plus people here at CFP Board.
Well, Kevin, I want to personally thank you very much for being part of the Up Your Assets podcast today, sharing the background of the CFP designation and the profession and where it's going. Again, my congratulations to you and to the entire team that is there representing the CFP professionals and the public, working hard every day. So thanks for being with us.
You're welcome, and thank you for including me, Ray.
You bet. And so I just, as we wrap this up, just want to say I cannot imagine a profession better than working in the financial planning field today, working closely with young adults at the University of Maryland and at the University of South Florida here in Tampa, encouraging them to consider it as a career. Is extremely personally rewarding. It's also financially rewarding. After a period of time, we all have to pay our dues. And like you, I'm encouraging all the people I can to consider this wonderful profession. I want to thank our audience for being with us today. We've been interviewing Kevin Keller, the CEO of the CFP Board of Standards, and we will be out with another fresh podcast in just 2 weeks. So don't forget in the meantime to go out there and up your assets.